Welcome back to New York Detective Stories. I am your hostess, Mickey. Last time, we were talking about a gun, a possible robbery, and something about a murder. Detective Wong, can you tell us what happened?
We can move on to say that there was a dead person in the front seat. There's a gun that was recovered from the dead person's hand, and there's a pool of blood inside the well of the front seat. Now, I have to proceed and try to ascertain what the facts will bear out, what really happened. And those were the facts up to this point. Back to the cab driver now. And now I think I should conduct this interview myself rather than have him go over to the complaint room and make a simple complaint of robbery. So I said to him, tell me what really happened. And he said to me, I picked up this fare and he directed me to Holland Tunnel, and I was taking him down Canal Street. Holland Tunnel is at the end of Canal Street in Chinatown here. And he proceeded to go down Canal Street toward the Holland Tunnel, and at which point this passenger that was jumped in my front seat that wanted to go with me pulls out a gun. And he points it in my head and says, give me your money or I'll kill you.
So was he mugged?
Well, mugged isn't the right word. It's robbed. He was robbed. Mugging usually pertains to somebody coming up to you in the street and hitting you on the head and mugging you. This is a straight out armed robbery, okay? With the loaded weapon, because he believes the weapon was loaded. He believes his life was in danger. So he then, in the effort to give him the money that he demanded, he reached behind him and said, I give you my money, please don't kill me. He took out his unlicensed gun and shot the man.
Oh.
Okay. The reason I know it's unlicensed is because cab drivers in New York City are not allowed to have gun licenses. And at this point, he's considered a suspect. A suspect for murder, since the other person in the car looked pretty dead. So,
and there were only two people in the car. So.
Yes, it was him and this passion and this fare, and the fare is no longer with us. The ambulance had arrived already, pronounced him dead on the scene. The United States that persons suspected of a crime have certain rights under a Miranda decision in the United States Supreme Court going way back, and it's basically the right to remain silent, the right to have an attorney. If you can't afford one will be provided with you. Anyway, he decided to talk a little bit more about his story. Didn't want an attorney at that point because he felt he was right, because he was justified.
He was doing self-defense.
That's right? What he says. Okay, so based on that information he provided and the detectives that came and we all spoke about it, yes, he was justified. But policeman's duty is to enforce the law. So the police job is to enforce the law. We are not the judge, we are not the jury. We just enforce the law.
You just go by the law.
Right. The law says if you kill another person, you committed murder.
So he was automatically arrested, correct?
He had to be processed and arrested and processed through the system. But the outcome is, of course, is justifiable homicide, like we said in the beginning.
Which is our topic.
Yes. So there is such thing as justifiable homicide, and this is a prime example of that. The DA's office at that point declined to prosecute. So which means that he was not prosecuted for the crime. Even though he was formally arrested and charged with it, he was dismissed and actually never got to the point of being charged officially by the district attorney's office. They declined to prosecute.
So he wasn't charged with murder?
He wasn't charged with any crime at all at this point.
Since it was justifiable homicide?
Yes.
How is this justifiable homicide?
Well, the reason it's justified is, like we said earlier, homicide is taking one person that kills another person and taking their life. Why is it ever justified? Because the law allows you to defend your life. If somebody wants to kill you or shoot you or harm you or your family or others, you have a right to use all means necessary to stop that aggressive action and defend your life. And I think sometimes citizens hesitate. And if they hesitate, that's when they become victimized twice and they might get hurt. So in this case, yes, the cab driver was not correct in having an unlicensed gun.
That's very dangerous to the community if people are walking around with guns in their
Absolutely.
pockets.
That's why, even though he probably didn't get charged with the homicide or the murder, he probably got charged
For the gun.
for the possession of the gun, possession of a loaded weapon.
That reminds me, what happened to the gun?
Well, it gets vouchered, it gets placed in the police department, it gets tagged, it goes to the lab, and becomes evidence in the case. And of course, nobody has a right to it unless it's stolen from someone. They go retrieve it, they can prove the serial number matches it. But otherwise, it just gets destroyed, melted down to a manhole cover. So when you walk over a manhole cover on Canal Street, that's 20 guns that was melted 10 years ago.
Wow.
Anyway, to go on about, you mentioned about illegal possession of the gun.
Yes, illegal
There's
possession.
many ways for citizens and community to be properly armed because you have to get a permit. So New York City in
And
particular.
what circumstances would those be?
Okay, if you live in New York City, the New York City Police Department governs the issues of permits. And if you live in New York State, outside the city, the county you live in governs that. But in New York City, the gun laws are that you either have a target or a residence permit or you have a full carry permit. And you have to show justification. So if you have a store and you have a store permit or premise business permit and you legally have a gun and somebody comes in to kill your daughter, your brother, your sister, your husband in the attempts of robbery and you feel your life is in danger, you can use all the force necessary to defend your life. It's for instance, if you go jogging with your friend, and you go jogging with your friend and you're in Central Park and a guy jumps out of the bushes and knocks your girlfriend down and pushes him down, well, you don't have a gun. But he knocks him down. Knocks her down, he pins her to the ground, he starts to strangle her for whatever demented reason he has. Could be an ex-boyfriend. It could be, somebody that's jealous or somebody just insane or whatever. And you take a tree stump and you hit him or her to save your friend's life and he dies.
If that was the case,
Is that justifiable homicide?
that would be justifiable
Why?
homicide. Because the tree stump isn't illegal. If it was a gun, however, they would be charged for the gun.
Yeah, but he's just as dead.
He's
Is it
dead.
homicide? Is it murder? Is
But
it
there
taking
was-
somebody's life?
Yeah, there was a reason for it.
Oh, okay, so it's justifiable.
Yeah,
So it's still a
justifiable.
homicide, and it's a justifiable homicide. We made our point, right? You don't have to kill a person with a gun.
And I
be
want to
justified
bring
homicide.
the interest into the tree stump and also the gun. So if it was a gun, it would be a different story. It would go into being charged and the gun would be taken as evidence and it would
Yeah,
be
but
vouched.
that's the method of killing the person. It's not alleviates the fact that the person
But it
is still
also depends
dead.
on how the person died.
He died as a result of your action. You hit him on the head with this tree branch and you were lucky enough to hit him in the right place and it cracked his skull and he died.
But he attacked me, so I have a right.
To justifiably defend yourself, and that's justifiable homicide. So in this case of justifiable homicide, things never appear as they are. Person comes in to report a robbery, winds up shooting a person that tried to rob him, and he has to undergo the legal process of shooting someone and killing them. But his homicide was justified.
Thank you so much, Detective Wong. It was quite a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you, Mickey, and we will be back next week and have more stories to tell.
See you next time!